Hey everyone, Dan at Bushcraft. Today is the day. I know a lot of you have been waiting for the battle. We have the Becker BK9, the new Architect 8, and the Junglas2 about ready to put them head to head, see which one I like best, see how they perform in a variety of tasks that I use big knives for out here. I've done individual videos and reviews on all of these where I've covered specs and performance and things for the individual knives. You can go back through my videos, type in Bushcraft BK9 or whatever to find that knife review. So I'm not going to get back into details of each individual knife. Those are all out there. We're just going to go right into it and put these three knives head to head. And I'll tell you what I'm feeling and what I'm liking and not liking as we go. I've been using the Junglas2 and the Becker BK9 for many, many years, but I've never put them head to head. So that's a first. And the Architect 8 is the new kid on the block. So the one thing I will say, when I did my review on the Architect 8, it had not had the spine sharpened yet. It now has a very sharp 90-degree spine, as well as the other two. And a Dremel tool was used on the bow drill divot. So it is also very sharp, and later on we'll throw some sparks with all three. All right, let me move you guys and let's go to work. All right, we're gonna start with the new kid on the block, Architect 8. First thing this morning, I drove right up on a Christmas tree that somebody had dumped. So that gave me some material. Also found something dead. I'm gonna have to split the material I've got between the knives. So my number one thing for a big knife in the winter, I'm going to get tree boughs down for an emergency shelter if I need to, or to build a lean-to if I'm camping out, and for ground cover. So let's compare these three head to head on getting me some boughs down. Architect 8, the lightest in the hand, but that also equates to more speed and the easiest to travel the backcountry with. All right, so again, I would do a lot more, but I don't have a whole bunch of material to work with. So as you see, quick and easy. I am having to hit it with quite a bit of force to get it to go right through, but quick and easy for getting boughs down for a shelter. Okay, Junglas2. Much heavier, heaviest of the three. Much easier other than the weight. If weight is a concern, lighter and faster with the AK8. That's the Junglas2. Much easier. I didn't have to use near as much force. The weight of the blade is just going right on through with ease. And have to grab the rest of this tree. Becker BK9. Ah, missed. I'm going to grab the Junglas2 again because I can't tell the difference between the two. All right, back to the 9. They're so close, I'm having a real hard time differentiating. The 9's lighter in the hand and faster, so Junglas2 is the heaviest. It's most impact weight-wise. The BK9 is a little lighter. The blade's a little longer. And the 8, of course, is the shortest and lightest. Yeah, okay. This big one down here. All right. So what have I got? BK9 would be the winner of that one. I think it's like the perfect combination. So the 8 is just a little too light to get the limbs off, as well as the 2 bigger ones, without having to put more muscle into it. The Junglas2, I was able to put a lot less oomph into it. Another technical bushcraft word is oomph. I was able to put a lot less oomph into it to get it to go right through. That was much easier. And the 9, it feels like it's not as heavy as the 2, but it's heavier than the 8. It's a little longer than both. I think the combination puts it right at, right into that perfect place. So the 9, slightly better than the 2, then the 8. And again, this is just how they feel to me and how they're working towards me. You might get them out and have completely different results. Results are subjective. Size of your hand, how much strength you have, different things. But that's how those panned out. Now I've got a dead one here. I want to do the same thing with it. Okay, let's get to 8. All my blades are going to need well oiled after this. 1095 carbon, and everything out here is just soaked. It's been raining on top of the snow. All right, so this is just something dead, and so it gives just a little bit different amount of resistance here. Smaller though, and there's nothing to that. Yeah, that's super easy with the 8. So I'm here with the 2, SE Junglas2. Even easier, just going through it like butter. Nice, wow. That just literally falling through it like butter. Okay, 9, saved a few branches for it. About the same as the 2, maybe slightly easier. Look at that, I'm chopping the end off. So, again, the 2 and the Junglas very close. I mean, the Becker BK9 and the Junglas2 very close. 9, I'm going to give a slight edge. And then the 2, and then the Architect 8. But being out here in the winter, I would not hesitate any of the 3. And again, there are advantages and disadvantages. Other things to consider is like weight. If you need something extremely light for lots of travel, the 8 is going to be the choice. If you want something that's a big, heavy, thick chopper that you're just going to do lots of chopping with, which we're going to do a little shortly, I'd probably go with the 2. Overall, so far, the 9. All right, I got to move to a different location where I have a stump to do some chopping, carving, etc. on. All right, pack you guys up and head out. All right, I moved to a different location. The sun is starting to come out from behind the clouds, so I'll do my best to angle this to where the sun doesn't white out our picture, and we'll try some other chopping, batoning, and carving and different things. Okay, one of the things I would do out here is makes a stake that I could drive into the ground, possibly for a fire reflector, shelter, making a cooking cooking device. Try the 8 first. SC Junglas2. Becker BK9. And another round with each. And the 9. And I'm actually going to do just a couple more because I want to make sure I got a really good feel before I tell you what I'm thinking here. We'll go up a little higher. And the SE. Okay, for doing this time maybe speed is what counts, or blade geometry, because the Architect 8 is actually taking less effort to make a stake out of this than the SE Junglas2. So I'm not sure where the 9 is yet. It's easier than the Junglas2. Okay. Again, maybe it has to do with weight, maybe it has to do with blade geometry. The fact that the more weight you use, the more you feel it in your arm. I'm actually going to give this to the Architect 8. It is just slicing through that very easily. And this time the Becker BK9 would come in second. And the SE Junglas2, 3. Again, maybe it's blade geometry. They all 3 have razor shaving sharp edges. I made sure that they'll all pop the hair right off your arm like nothing, and the top layer of skin too if you're not careful. Yeah, that's just less work. And I'm basically, that's it. I'm getting the same, at least the same amount of material off with the 8 with less work on my arm. Less energy. So I'm giving that one to the edge to the 8, and then the 9, and then the Junglas2. So I'd say the weight of the blade has something to do with this. Now let's try just some straight up chopping. Stopping to listen for a second because birds are starting to wake up, and just wondering what else might be moving around. Try to set where you guys can see everything. Not the best chopping block. It's not completely level, so it's not going to be a perfect science here on Let's do some short pieces off the end. Okay, that's the 8. Junglas2. A little bit better. Yeah, so that's taken a single hit for what the other one was taken to. 9. I'll do it all again, but the 9 felt like the winner there. Felt like it went back to the 9, the 2, and the 8. We'll do it all again. As I move up, it's getting a little thicker, but I'm trying to take short pieces so that there's not a big change in thickness. So again, try to just get like the end inch or 2. Okay. That was our 8. Here's the Junglas2. And here's the 9, Becker BK9. 9, the easiest. It's just going right through and popping stuff off. That's the Junglas2, a little bit heavier, but I got to put more oomph into it to make it perform the same way as the 9, and the 8 is just too light to keep up with the other 2. So the 2 and the SC Junglas2 and the Becker BK9 are close. 9 is the winner. I can feel enough of difference. 9 the winner, Junglas2 second, and the Architect 8 would definitely be third. It's definitely down from these 2. All right, set up for the next test. Okay, I cut up that little dead tree that we knocked some limbs off earlier. I got 3 links, the same. Unfortunately, they do get a little smaller in diameter as I go. I'll go ahead and start with the smallest piece in 8. I should still be able to get a good idea on batoning. So this is the 8. Okay, set those off to the side. Junglas2. Again, I'll come back and do some of these halves because part of the difference might be in the diameter. This was a little bigger diameter. And since the 9 has been a little bit ahead on most of the stuff, I saved it, the biggest piece for it. All right. All right, well, I'm gonna come back and do some halves and then make sure I get some bigger ones on the 8 and some smaller ones on the 9 and the 2. So here's a half. Very nice. All right, I got the 9 laying here still, so I'll just use the 9. This is the other half, about the same size. And the SC Junglas2. And I'm going to do them all one more time Still got some halves here. Start with the 8 again. Okay, Architect 8. SC Junglas2. Becker BK9. Hit that one again. Take a quarter off. SC Junglas2. Take a quarter off. Just like a corner, I'm making some fine kindling. Well, I got to get the whole piece of wood or it don't count. Have to grab a different piece here. Nine again. And the 8. Okay, did the best I could with different size pieces of wood. So it's not an exact science, and again, results are a little subjective, but I think the Architect 8 was the best batoner. It felt like it went the farthest on each hit with the least amount of energy. The Becker BK9, slightly, just very, very slightly better than the SC Junglas2. But I mean, so close. It was really, really close. But I'd say the 9 would be second and the SC Junglas2 would be third. So we're getting mixed results on the different tests, which is kind of interesting. All right, let's reset up and try some carving. Okay, I cut a willow branch. So I got 3 pieces of willow here. We were all using the exact same material and all 3 just about identical in diameter. I do a lot of carving with willow if I'm going to make tent stakes and different things. I use a lot of willow, so this should be pretty even. So I'll start by pointing each one of these. Again, we'll start with the 8. I'm going to use the exact same technique and grip and everything on all 3. Now I do have the option on the 8 to choke up, but in what I'm doing, it actually doesn't make it any easier than having a little more leverage. Okay. SC Junglas2. Grab another piece here. And I want to feel it on the one with the 8 side by side. So we'll take a couple with the 2, a couple more with the 8. Okay. And the 9. New piece here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the others that I've been working on so I can hit a couple swipes on all 3 now. That was a 9. Here's the SC Junglas2. And the Architect 8. Nine again. Okay. Becker BK9 is actually for the first time in this competition going to enter in at third. It has been in first or second on every test. The other two have both landed in third on others. The 9, I think because of the length of the blade, I can feel a lot more weight out in front, just kind of taking away from the weight being right here. I'm having to apply more pressure with my wrist to get the same amount of material off because there's more weight out here. The other two are bringing more weight back over the cutting place. So Becker BK9 is going to get a third on that one. So I'm going to have to do the Junglas2 and the 8. Couple more times because those two are really close, surprisingly, on this. So interesting. Yeah, I had to look at that real close. So I'm going to give the SC Junglas2 the winner on this one. The Architect 8, because it's the lightest, is the easiest to carve with. But when I looked at it slow and tried to go a little slower, and I felt it when I was doing it, it's not taking as much material as the SC Junglas2. So the SC Junglas2 is slightly a little bit more work because of the weight, but it's countering that by taking off more material. I feel like it is taking off the amount of material that every 2 slices with the Architect 8. So SC Junglas2, my opinion, it feels like it's the easiest to point to stick with, followed by the Architect 8 and the BK9. We're not done yet. We're gonna notch these. Okay, I got a little notch in each. See how they compare on notching. Let's start with the BK9 this time, do a different order. Oh, I actually sliced the end off there on that one. I've got 2 more. Architect 8. SC Junglas2. And the 9 again. Okay. The 9 is definitely easier for this task. Interesting. Since it came in on third on pointing the stick. Slicing down in here, using my thumb for pressure to make a 7 notch. Nine. Two. That's really interesting. So that one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm going to have to sit down and think about it, but I can tell you for carving a 7 notch, the 8 is definitely the hardest to carve with, followed by the 2. And the 9 is just dramatically different. I mean, it's carving right through there easy. I'm getting literally like half the effort, or if it's the same amount of effort, I'm getting twice the amount of material out of there. So that's actually a big difference. The 9, I would say, for making a notch is way out in front of the other two. Junglas2 and Architect 8 are a little closer, but the Junglas2 is definitely easier for getting that material out. That's right, I got one more little notch here. 9, SE Junglas2, 8, Becker BK9. That is just super, super easy with the 9, and definitely some work with the other two. So the 9's way out in front on that one, followed by the Junglas2, Architect 8. Pause, you guys. And just to show it, they all now have, you see that? And our new 90-degree spine on our Architect 8, along with the divot. One final test here. Got a couple pieces of some dry Fatwood, SE Junglas2. I'm just popping off some small curls and seeing how well it's doing it and how easy it's doing it. Super easy on the SE Junglas2. Same piece of wood on the 8. I'm not getting them as well with the 8 as I was the Junglas2. Becker BK9. I need to do the 9 and the 2 again. I can tell you the 8 is going to come in third on this one. 2 and the 9, pretty close. Start a new side here, SE Junglas2. All right, I'm gonna say just by a hair, SE Junglas2 is actually doing the best. Giving me some little curls that I might want to use to get a fire going, followed by the Becker BK9 and the AK8. Definitely a third place on that one. Last thing, let's test the edge a little bit. You may not be able to see this, but I can. That's the 8. Junglas2. And the Becker BK9. I would say the SE Junglas2 and the Becker BK9, all three are shaving the hair, but not so much with the 8 as it was when we first started this test and it was just popping it off. 9 and Junglas2, I'm just going to call it a tie. There's no way without having a microscope to tell. There it is, guys. I used each one in a variety of the tasks that I normally use them for out here. I've been doing the Becker BK9 and the SE Junglas2 for years. They are both still my favorite big knives, and what I like to do is, like this winter, I've been using the BK9 all winter, simply because last year I used the SE Junglas2 all winter, and I like both. And if I use one for a long time, I start to miss the other and switch out. And so probably later this year, the 9 will get put away and the SE Junglas2 will come out. The AK8, just in my mind, is not quite up to par with the other two, although surprisingly, especially on the Batoning, it outperformed the other two, and it has its advantages. Now in the summertime when I do rock climbing and I want one light knife, I usually have my SE6, but I would have no problem if I wanted to carry something a little bigger using that AK8, especially now that I have it geared up to start fire. So where weight is an issue or the amount of gear is an issue because I'm climbing, the 8 would probably be a good alternative for the SE6, and I would definitely carry it over these other two climbing up some rocks. It'd just be easier to maneuver with and less weight. But as far as winter survival, where I have to construct shelter, might do batoning, starting fires with Fatwood, different things, I'm going to put both the SE Junglas2 and 9 slightly above it. And I'll be honest with you, you know, you saw sometimes the SE Junglas2 outperformed the 9, other times the 9 outperformed the 2. It's kind of back and forth. For me, I love them both. I really can't tell you that, hey, I prefer this one over the other, because again, what I do, if I carry this for several months, I start missing the 9, and I want to carry the 9. And if I carry the 9 for a long time, I'll start missing the SE Junglas2, and I just keep going back and forth, and I've done that for years and years. I love them both. For me, they're a tie. The 8, other than, again, summer situation where I'm doing some rock climbing and things, you might see me carrying that 8, because I will not carry these two bigger ones when I'm doing, you know, more strenuous, dangerous things in the summertime. But there it is, guys. You got to see a variety of tasks in the comments. You decide which one's your favorite. I wanted to do a head-to-head, and you can't go wrong with any of the three. Dan at Ocho Bushcraft. Please subscribe. Please hit the notification button. And I pray you guys enjoyed this. Take care. Get out and enjoy yourself. And I would love to hear from you guys in the comments about what you thought.